Welcome to the only daily podcast focusing on compliance news of the day. Each morning, start your day with a cup of coffee and Tom Fox, the voice of compliance, to hear about 4 of the top compliance, corruption, or leadership stories you will need to start your day. The Daily Compliance News is a production of the Compliance Podcast Network.
First, a word from our sponsor. The Daily Compliance News for January 30, 2023, the Robbing Ohio Blind Edition. And our first story comes to us with a great title, I would note, from the Ohio Capital Journal, first-time contributor to the Daily Compliance News. And in a commentary by David DeWitt, he says that politicians have been treating the Ohio government like their personal country club and piggy bank for decades. So apparently, Ohio is pervasively interwoven with corruption, and it has conjured up the stereotypical scenes from a poorly written movie. Fat, white politicians being flown around on corporate jets for wine and dine at expensive steakhouses, in addition to taking millions of dollars, as alleged against former Ohio Speaker. Next up, from Reuters, in a very, very interesting decision, the Delaware Chancery Court has held that shareholders can sue the McDonald's Corp. Former global chief people officer for damages they claim he caused by allegedly allowing a culture of sexual harassment to flourish. This decision really is a game changer, and every chief compliance officer and indeed corporate officer needs to be aware that it's moving the liability stakes very far forward. If you now want to engage in conscious indifference, you are going to be in serious shape if shareholders bring a suit against you. Next up, in a decision that may lead down the road to Mr. SBF himself having his parole revoked, or rather his bail revoked, I should say, he's alleged to have contacted FTX employees via a encrypted messaging app. Specifically, the general counsel was contacted, a former general counsel of FTX, and this is very troubling, and a court may not revoke his bail the first time, but if this happens again, and Mr. SBF himself has shown no need to follow the constraints of how a charged white-collar defendant should act, now he does this, he's going to find himself in a world of hurt. And finally, Boeing and its victims from 737 MAX air crashes sparred in a Texas court. The victims want a monitor put in place over Boeing to see the results of the DPA are satisfied. Boeing, of course, says, so we don't need no stinking monitor, and it's going to be up to the court to make a ruling on this going forward. The Daily Compliance News is a production of the Compliance Podcast Network and a proud member of C-Suite Radio. Thanks so much for listening. I hope you'll join me again tomorrow.